Welcome to video tutorial 21 of Teddy the Bear, and we're going to be sewing on the muzzle and the tail in this video. So it says to pin the muzzle to Teddy's face 2 rows up from the bottom of the head, and make sure it's central before sewing on. So let's do that. So this is the muzzle. So let's zoom in and get that pinned on. So what we're aiming for, use the pictures in the pattern to help as well, is here. I normally put this bit at the bottom, just that it's the most hidden. So a couple of rows up from the bottom, so 1, 2, so about there, and then make sure it's nice and central. And we're going to push it up a little bit as well, because we want it to face forward. So we're not sewing it on flat, we're going to stuff it. So I'm just going to pop a pin in at the bottom. That's nice and central. See it like that. So does that look central on his face? So we'll pop a bit of stuffing underneath it. In a moment, we'll start sewing on first, because otherwise the stuffing will just keep falling out all the time. So we will thread our needle, the strand that we left on the muzzle. We'll be fastened it off, and I'm going to just start sewing. Let's just pop another couple of pins in. So we'll start fastening it on, and then we'll pop some stuffing on when we get a little bit further round. So let's see. So I'm going to push that up a little bit more. I'm going for a bit rounder. So we're pushing it up so that it's facing forward like so. Make sure it looks nice and central again. It's a little bit high up. I think I'll pull that down slightly. Moving it down a little bit. I popped it on a bit too high. And rounding it off. So there we go. So we'll just make sure that seems to be stuck out a little bit. There's no stuffing in there yet. Like so. There we go. So we're going to do what we do normally, and because we don't want to see this little knot bit where we finished off, I'm just going to go behind the muzzle and bring my needle out there just to pull that knot inside. It'll make it less visible where the join is. So now I'm going to go back down, and I'm going to come up a couple of stitches away. There's all different ways you can do this, but again, this is leaving that nice chain around the edges, and it just looks very neat. I'm going to come up a couple of stitches away. You will get fastened on all your pins. That's it. So just keep an eye each time you do a stitch that hasn't got caught on the pin and you haven't realised. So I'm going to go back and then forward. So I'm doing a little bit like a back stitch. The reason being is because I can't come up right next to it, I don't want big gaps between them, because we don't want stuffing escaping. So we're going down, backward, and then coming up the next stitch. I mean, you can go around twice, but just this way I know that there's a stitch pretty much close by all of the way around. Because again, we don't want that stuffing coming out. We don't want holes. We can check at the end for those, but so going backward and going down and then coming up again, just inside the chain edge, down and up again. So I'm going to aim to probably get about halfway around before I start popping some stuffing in. Oh yeah, we're at the top now. So I'll pull that gently just to make sure. I'm going to take out the pins of the area we've already done. We don't need those. And that helps us to see better that it's firm. Yeah, it's pretty firm to it. If it's gappy, you can gather it up a little bit. But you're making sure that there isn't gaps for the stuffing to come out. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to pop that out. I'm going to pop a little bit of our stuffing in. So split it as normal, pop it underneath. I'll fill his little shape out of his muzzle for him, push it right into the far end. Then you want it reasonably firm, but you don't want it so the stuffing's showing through the stitches. You don't want it bursting out. And we'll pin it back down again, but have another look at it before we start sewing to make sure we're happy with the shape. And wiggle it around a little bit to make sure it's nice and even. There we go. See, we'll just go around in a circle and finish that off. So we'll carry on sewing. If you you think, oh, I need a bit more stuff in, you can soon pop a bit more in. Let's put a little bit, tiny bit more in. Give them a bit more of a defined shape. And then push it around, make sure it's all quite even. And then we're just going to carry on with our sewing. So we're going to go backward a stitch and then come out just to the side of the chain again. It's all just about keeping it nice and even. Backward one and then forward. But feel free to go around again if you want it extra secure, or if it's a bit gappy, absolutely no harm going around again. It's better to do it now because otherwise you have to get all your thread out and do it again later if it comes loose. So do it while you're in the process of sewing it. So back a stitch and up. And as soon as you're past, you've sewn up there with the pin, you can take it out. Take that last one out. Make sure it's looking all nice, look. Oh, lovely. I'll pull it a bit tighter just to make sure we've no gaps again. There's that little bit of a gap there. I think I'll pop another stitch in there so we can go back down. I'll go down there to make sure I've got one right in the bottom, and I'll come up here where not quite done. I think I left a bit too big a gap, so we'll go back and do that. So this bit here, yeah. So we'll just get that extra stitch in. And then I'm quite happy with that. He's got his muzzle. So all I'm going to do now is go back in again and out. You can do that in the bare, but I'll do it in the cream just because our yarn's cream, so it's less visible. So in and out a couple of times. And there we have it. We have a muzzle. And then just give it a little bit of a push around and a shape to get it into shape. Make sure it's nice. There we go. Look at that little muzzle. Very cute. Now I'm going to show the tail just because that's a nice little easy one to tag on the end. And then the next video we'll be showing you the arms being sewn on. So we're going to pop his tail here, just on his bottom. Again with the not part of the bottom of it. And then we're going to pop a couple of pins through. Make sure they don't come right through with the long ones and you end up prickling yourself on the other side. So now that's on, make sure it's central before you start sewing it. So all it is really is a matter of just checking everything before you make it more permanent. So that looks nice and central on his bottom. We're going for just above his legs. His legs join like so. This is already stuffed at the end from last time, but if you haven't already done that, then give him some stuff in. And exactly the same technique. We're just going to go up and down, a couple of stitches away. Might be an idea to go around this a couple of times. It's such a smaller part. So let's go down again and then up. Because it's so little, we might have to shuffle back and forward a bit. It's a bit more awkward to get your needle in, so I'm going to go back up there, look. And a couple of stitches back here to make sure that top's sewn on. Just a matter of doing it by eye and trying to catch all the areas around the outside to make sure there aren't any missed where that stuffing could leak out. I'm going down and up again, back to the bottom. I see that's got a gap there, so I'm going to go up there, come out there. Another stitch there along the bottom. Can't always get to come out there, so I'm coming out here and then I'll go back under to come up because it's just so much more fiddly with a smaller part, that's all. There we go. So we'll take our pins out and see how that looks. Let's have a look around the outside. So we'll pull it a bit tighter Are there any big gaps where stuffing could escape? I think we need another stitch in that side. We'll do that. And give it a pull, make sure it's nice and firm and neatly tied on. And a couple, and go around it twice. It doesn't take too long with the tail, this is so small. Put that stuffing in. How cute is that little tail? Look at that. Oh, so sweet. So I'm just going to fasten that off now. Just doing the up and down, back and forth, so it's tangled up into the stuffing. Pull and cut off. And there we have this little tail. There we go, look. And this muzzle. Oh, it's getting there. We haven't got much left to finish now. So I'll see you in the next video.